Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hitbox TV Challenger Face-Off. This is Gamers2 going up against Unicorns of Love. There was a slight error on Wikipedia, so for any of you who weren't aware of it, we are definitely going up against Unicorns of Love here, rather than, as was I believe listed, Gamers2 versus Mouse. But as it happens, I am Spuddington, hoping to be joined later on by Metas. I think he may be stuck in traffic or something similar. This happens surprisingly often in casting, especially recently, but that is just how it is sometimes. I will be with you at least alone for now, so we are in Champion Select, as I did say. This is going to be an interesting matchup, I think. Gamers2, we've seen them quite a lot recently. They've been a very, very strong challenger team, and they've been generally either doing extremely well, like just destroying whoever they're up against, or against some of the best teams, they tended to fall down a bit. So I'm kind of curious where Unicorns of Love stacks up, because recently they've been somewhat inconsistent. They seem highly talented individually and seem to have been managing to improve in their gameplay as time goes by. So kind of a new team. Don't know exactly where they're going to stack up, and we certainly will be seeing in this game as it goes on. Now, JWoww there did pick the Leona there for his team as the first pick. We do already have some bans up, and I have to note here there is a very unusual one in that Rengar was banned out. Now, I have yet to see Rengar in the last two patches. He has not been played competitively in all that time, and yet he has been banned out. So must presumably be a targeted ban. He was buffed in the last two patches consecutively. The first one, the first one was more like a rework, but gave him some buffs in some areas, nerfs in others. But then the last patch was definitely just a bunch of quality of life nerfs, so he may have hit that point where some of the more experienced Rengar players will start to play him again. Not that he's going to be played today, obviously has been banned out this game. So may actually be, if now I think of it, may actually be directed towards the jungle pick, because a Rengar jungle now, with that attack speed from his Q, give him a Feral Flare, give him a bit of time to farm up. He could be really difficult to deal with as an assassin in the late game with that stealth. So, although that does actually reveal you now. So, don't know exactly what the purpose is there, but we will maybe see it in some of the later games in this series. And this is a best of 3, apparently, by the way, guys. So, do not be surprised if I start talking in best of 3s as opposed to the first round, which was best of 5s. Don't really know what's going on with that, but we have got some extra picks coming in now. Nothing quite as surprising. We are seeing this resurgence of Graves, and obviously Lucian is a very similar champion that's been popular for a little bit longer now. Very, very strong champions in the lane with big, big mid-game spikes. Lucian tends to have a slightly stronger late game and tends to suffer a little bit less burst in the early mid-game. But it's not a major difference between the two of them. They're both 525 range AD carries with a lot of AD scaling on their abilities, a little bit less of a focus on their auto attacks. So we'll see how that matchup works out. But obviously, if you've got a bursty AD carry, generally you want a bursty support with that. Leona works very, very well with either of those two, although Morgana does also function to kind of counter that out. And Lucian has deceptively long range thanks to the range on his Q, which can hit through minions to hit onto players. So, we do have some extra picks coming through as well. Now we've got the Trundle lock-in, and it's unusual to see Trundle locked in this situation because that almost seems like it's baiting out a Lee Sin top here. Lee Sin top considered to be a very, very, very strong counter to Trundle, and picking out that Trundle there up against a Lee Sin that's already been picked out. Yes, they know Morden plays a very good Lee Sin, that is true, but if you pick out that Trundle, you're saying, come at me. Like, pick this Lee Sin top to go against me. Doesn't look like Gamers2 feel like that is really going to work in their favor here. So they are looking at picking out some alternatives. I would be surprised to see JWoww going with Aurelia, since that matchup is very, very difficult to win as Aurelia. Ryze would make a lot more sense here. Does look like that's what we're going to be seeing. So nearly the full lineups are locked in here. Gamers2 certainly are, unless they swap up at the last second. No, they are not. So very, very strong composition in the hard engage here from Gamers2. They've got the Leona Solar Flare, they've got the follow-up, and they've got super, super difficult to dive damage sources in the form of Ryze and in the form of Graves, since they've also got the Lulu to keep them safe. Final pick there for Master of Sheepy? No. Okay, yeah, I was thinking that was a bit strange. Swaps confuse me sometimes, the order people do them in. But the Ziggs pick there will work quite well up against that. And you can actually see both of these teams have picked out these bursty mid-game orientated AD carries. And they've also picked very strong sustained damage mages in other roles in the late game. So kind of covering for the weaknesses of those picks. Just like a compositional thing there. But we do have full lineups here. We are on the live servers though, guys. So guys, we are just going to be going into a quick break now. We have obviously got the 3-minute delay timer, which is standard on the live servers all across all the servers, I do believe. And so we'll be right back just after these quick messages.
Yes, I'm grooving.
we live? Well, thank you very much there, Ruben. So, hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I was just getting a little bit confused there because we had a pause and we had an unpause and then we had a pause again. Tried to throw it live when the unpause came in, which is why I got confuzzled there. So, we are in game now. Obviously, Unicorns of Love versus Gamers2. This is the Hitbox Challenger Face-Off semi-finals right now. And we are just waiting to get back into the game. Morden has reconnected, so hopefully we won't be sitting here for too long. But right now, I've got to say, I'm interested at the fact that the Unicorns of Love are literally in a 5-man stack already. We're 20 seconds in. This is kind of signaling they probably want to go for an early invade here. They are all grouped up in one place. Obviously, that means they can rush as quickly as possible to invade. Whereas Gamers2 taking a much more safe approach. They're spreading out and splitting up. Now, sometimes you actually see the early invade and then people don't follow it up at all. But we are seeing Morden. Well, Morden is actually seeing the invade. And just a quick Dustbringer and a tap on the nose and a hello, goodbye. So, splitting off again now. Both teams backing out. And well, they're not to be deterred. It seems that they really intend to go for the invades here. And really, frankly, why not? They do have a very strong level 1 fight here. Quite a bit of damage. And the Dark Binding from Morgana is so good when it comes to setting up kills in the early game. And it doesn't look like they intend to leave either. The one thing about doing this kind of an invade, though, is that it does mean right now that Gamers2 knows exactly where most of Unicorns of Love are, or where they were at the very least. Time passes, they've obviously lost vision now, but they can certainly place a pretty decent guess about what's going on in that lower jungle. Unicorns of Love are not going to know if their own upper jungle is warded. It would be very simple for Gamers2 to have walked in there, warded it up, and indeed we may actually see them still go and do that, but lacking in time now. We do have another pause, guys, so hopefully this won't last too long either. We are just having, you know, the standard technical issues there. But that's just how it is sometimes. And no actual action going on in the first minute, 2 minutes there. We do see that ward in the enemy jungle. I say the enemy. They're not my enemy, I can tell you that. But Unicorns of Love did get that deep ward in relatively early on. And they will be able to see if Morden goes past it. Obviously, they can guess that he was going to do that anyway, given that he's going to go buff to buff, as usually is the way. But it will give them a good sense of the timing, and it will also tell them if he chooses to go for an early gank. So, say he does the standard path, he goes buff, wolves, buff, and then looks for a gank. If he doesn't show up at that ward, going back the other way, reasonably early on, they are going to be able to see, or guess, that he's probably going for a gank at that point. So that puts a little bit more time pressure on Morden. Doesn't actually tell them where he's ganking, but it does give them that bit of inferred information there. But I've got to say, I'm not entirely sure that Unicorns of Love have done the best thing here for themselves. They haven't gone for a 2v1 swap up this game. They've got Ryze in a 1-on-1 against Trundle in the top lane. The bottom lane can go roughly equal. That's fine. You know, both sides will be perfectly happy with that matchup. But having a Trundle versus Ryze matchup is incredibly dangerous. Ryze can snowball very hard in that matchup. Even if he's just farming, he can scale super hard. And Trundle actually scales very hard as well. But he's not going to be getting nearly as much farm typically in that lane matchup. And the other thing is that Trundle is reasonably squishy early. So even if Ryze just gets him down to sort of 30-40% from his poke, at that point, you've got to be so careful as Trundle, lest you be dived. Because obviously, Morden Lee Sin is super scary. And that's just basically going to require either a lot of babysitting or some really, like, out there kind of play from Visitachi, because he's going to have to come out on top against a Ryze in a 1-on-1, and it's JWoww as well, who is well known for being one of the better top laners in the European region when he is connected to the game. He has just reconnected right now. We are having continued reconnections and disconnections. Master Sheepy also doing much the same. Hopefully we'll get everyone in the game at some point. Obviously, guys, at this point, I should probably point out to you, I am currently solo casting as a result of the fact that Metas has gotten himself lost in time and space. Not entirely sure where he is. He will presumably turn up at some point, but it's gonna have to be this Boddington show for now. And obviously our lovely producer Ruben, who threw me off when we were unpausing the first time, but that's just he can't argue back. So I'm allowed to just talk crap about him behind his. I mean, sort of in front of him. I was gonna say behind his back, then I was gonna say in front of his back. I'm not sure any of those really work as metaphors, analogies, whatever you want to call them. I never can remember what they are. So, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Linguistic lessons right there that I need. But we are continuing to look at the pause screen, and I really am struggling, honestly, at this point, to say much more about the game state at this point. We are seeing standard builds at the start. We are seeing Doran's Rings mid lanes. We are seeing Relic Shield versus Spell Thieves, both being the logical choices for their supports. And we are actually getting an unpause, which is really quite wonderful, because otherwise I would have had to keep chatting about Doran's items and what I think of building them. Spoilers, they're good. But we also see now the late counter invade here coming in from Gamers2. This is really, really quite smart. Visixachi, though, seems like he either knows this is coming or he wants the golems, which I really doubt, and he does guess that's coming, so gets the vision. That was a really smart call on both parts there. Gamers2 were smart to go for that because they knew where Nocturne was likely to be, having gone for that invasion, and obviously then retreating out of the area because they had the Graves and the Morgana in the area. Sorry, they had the Graves and the Leona in the area to check that out. But because you did get that ward over the wall, Visixachi is enabling Master Sheepy to go for this invade. He'll be able to take that red buff, and it's just going to be an even trade. 2 buff starts for both teams. Gank in the mid lane, Zodias going very, very low, but still no actual kills. Master Sheepy's going to have to be careful here, though, because there is a collapse coming in. Master Sheepy is, in fact, just abandoning ship right here, and this is an interesting route to take. Not exactly risk-free, but it did work out. He was pretty, okay, no, I mean, if he had put a step wrong there and tanked a tower shot from that upper tower there, sorry, the outer tower, then he would have ended up getting taken down in one shot there. But actually a 3 buff start for Gamers2, and all of that was basically predicated on the fact that Morden managed to get that gank off in the mid lane. Zodias was pushed back at his tower, and couldn't move up to reinforce Master Sheepy, so he is now in an awkward situation, no potions left. Whereas Morden is free to roam around the map much as he pleases. Looking to go for the level 4, I suspect, for another gank, which will also probably... Well, it's difficult to say, actually, where he's going to go. The mid lane is obviously the most tempting target at the moment. It actually looks like that may be what he's going for right now. But there is a ward. He will get spotted. And actually, he's also going into the enemy jungle here. Okay, so he's actually looking for a duel with Master Sheepy there, if he can get it. But he's perfectly happy not to. And he's also in position to support the top lane right now. Master Sheepy, oh no! Oh no! Okay, he lived. That was close. That was much closer than it perhaps ought to have been. But well calculated there by Master of Sheepy. And we also have the engage in the bottom lane. Dude flashes in, gets the Q down on Hylasang, who returns with the binding. And we will be seeing the disengage and just quite a bit of poke going across both ways there. Flash used from Leona, and the flash exhaust heal used there. Hylasang in a bit of trouble here, gets bursted terribly, terribly hard. Yuki going to take a lot of damage, but is able to get out with the exhaust on Vardags there. So that is a bad start there for Unicorns of Love. Their jungle is behind. Their mid lane could be in trouble in a second because Morden is there, and their bot lane has been first blooded. If this Q lands, Zodias is so freaking dead. The minion line is there, but Master Sheepy is actually... Oh, he's going for the... Is he going for the top lane, or is he looking for Morden's? This is a dangerous situation. He's not stronger in a duel right now, but it seems like right now, Master Sheepy did just... I'm not sure if that was inadvertent or not, but he did just save his teammate Zodias there. And I say save somewhat liberally there, because Zodias is still being pushed in really hard by Lulu and poked down pretty hard by Lulu. So he's going to have to go back, get some gold up, get some shopping done, and get himself set up for the next few waves. But obviously that does mean that Lulu gets that little bit of an edge. She will be able to push this wave into tower and then back herself. But we are comparing a Ziggs to Lulu matchup. She's a very, very strong early mid laner. Really very strong. Not as strong as she used to be, obviously, but she tends to suffer. The nerfs to Lulu tend to cause her to suffer more in the later stages of the game now. Since she can't get the double glitter lance off, her damage really fell. Whereas it used to be she had okay damage up till the point where she got Athene's. Now she's got Athene's. The Athene's doesn't really change her damage. Or, I mean, it increases her damage, but it doesn't give you that extra glitter lance, which is almost like a doubling effect on one of her skills. So that is significant nerfs to her damage, but still a viable pick, which kind of shows how broken she was before. Now, Visixachi in this top lane is suffering, but not too badly, honestly. He's done a remarkably good job, and actually kind of curious as to how he's managed to get ahead on CS. Ryze can be difficult to farm with, and early game his damage isn't spectacular. But it's a dangerous, dangerous situation now. Where is Morden going? He is not going to be there for the counter gank. Visixachi did just get himself level 6. We have the pillar coming down, ultimate coming in. JWoww taking a ton of damage. Master Sheepy much the same, but will he be able to run for cover? He actually gets that bomb! Comes in! So nice there. Sorry for your eardrums, ladies and gentlemen, but that was a hell of a nice shot there from Zodias, and that totally turns around the mid lane. They also now know where Morden was, because they knew exactly where JY was running, and that means he is a lot less threatening, and also means he doesn't care about being seen when he goes for this revenge buff steal. Ziggs will not be able to contest this unless he can get a steal, but that's very, very dangerous play here. We have the binding potential from Hylasang. Morden is going to need to jump over the wall out of here, but he did get the smite down. He did get the buff. And they will get out as well. And meanwhile, that wave in the mid lane is pushing in on the tower. So we do see pretty solid performance coming out there on both parties, but sadly we're not able to contest the buff. So for all that kill will probably help Zodias out immensely, if they're not able to contest the next blue buff, he's still not going to have an easy time in this mid lane. It's just the way of the world in mid lane. If you do not have a blue buff and you're in a particularly pushing heavy matchup, which pretty much every matchup against Ziggs and against Lulu is, then you really are going to suffer. Looks like Visixachi is going to be backing out from this top lane. Did just push out, and it will be now recalling. I'd actually like to note, by the way, I did check the runes for Visixachi. He's actually running lifesteal quints on this Trundle here, which is quite unusual, but I really quite like it. I actually do that myself on Trundle sometimes. It tends to work really quite well because I don't actually know that this is the case, but I think it actually applies on his bite, the bonus damage. I think you can lifesteal off it. So it actually ends up being a lot when you combine it with the W increase. And we actually also have a binding in the bot lane, an ult from Yuki. And actually kind of fizzles out that engagement. We do see continued aggression coming out of Morden. He's finding that buff and going to clear that away. Master Sheepy, meanwhile, is continuing to play the farm game and is building himself up, a decent staple of farm of monster stacks there, because Wriggles does work retroactively. You can get that. But the bottom lane is in quite a bit of trouble here still. Oddly enough, the top lane, which I was expecting to be really, really bad, Trundle versus Ryze, actually this is not the matter of the time. We have got the Hylasang flash going in their duty. In a lot of trouble, but not enough damage. Actually, counter-engage coming down. There was also a fight in the top lane, but the binding misses. The culling also not doing very much. And that was not really ideal there for Unicorns of Love, but they did pick up another kill on Ryze in the top lane, and they may even be able to get the tower here because Trundle mulches towers. So we'll see if Gamers2 goes for the Revenge Dragon. That would make a lot of sense for them. Obviously, Visixachi has managed to get himself out of the laning phase in remarkably good standing right now, so I'd say this is almost, going to be pretty much worth it. I'm also curious as to whether we're going to see a speculative bomb from Zodias, because Gamers2 are quite low in this pit. don't know if he knows that, though, so it looks like he's not going to get it. Morden is just going to recall in the pit and hope nobody checks it. He'll be able to get out of there, no worries. Master Sheepy, if he had a map hack, he could totally have stopped him there, but no way Jose right now. So, we did see the rough exchange there of objectives. We saw the top tower going down with the gank. We saw that dragon being taken away by Gamers2. Obviously, though, that's still not accounting for the kill that went down in the bottom lane. But thanks to the kills that we've been getting in the other lanes and that spectacular snipe from Zodias, I've got to say, Unicorns of Love are holding up pretty well right now. I would say, though, from the games that I've seen of them previously, their laning has always been very, very solid. So we're going to see now how well they can transition this solid start into their mid-game and into their late-game gaming. Because obviously, you can't just look at something in isolation. We do see JWoww getting pillared. Bilgewater Colors coming out from Vizixachi. He's doing quite a lot of damage here, but that could be said of both of them, and it will be counted here. He's going to try and finish the job, but no way! Morden kicks him over the wall, gets him out of range, unable to do any damage, and then follows through, gets the kill. So, really nice play there from Morden, being in the right place at the right time as well, which Master Sheepy honestly was not at that point. He should have known what was going to happen in that top lane, because Trundle was always going to all in. That's pretty much the only way that you can win, and when you're ahead, it's a very, very strong temptation to do that. So, yeah, understandable though. Very tricky to read the situation all the time perfectly, but that obviously equalizes the kill score. Roughly equalizes the gold score. Okay, very exactly equalizes the gold score across the board. We are seeing the Nocturne ultimate coming up right about now. I don't think that ward can see him. He's going in an Ocelot. I'm not entirely convinced by this plan, but he does force the flash. Possibly could have waited for Zodias to be a little closer. Zodias maybe could have tried for the snipe with his ultimate to force out the ultimate from Lulu, but doesn't really matter. It's still a longer cooldown, but the Nocturne ultimate being down is a big deal. We do also see that. See a little engage there in the bottom lane, but nothing comes of it in the end. So, Morden sticking around, taking away buffs, doing what Morden does. And more specifically, doing what Lee Sin does. We see the ultimate going to the mid lane there from Ziggs. He's probably just going to recall now. There we go. To wait for that ultimate to come back up again. Continuing to see Gamers2 looking for engages in this bottom lane. And I'm curious now, Vizixachi has his teleport up. He's level 9 as well. This is, you know, power spikes are being hit here. Now, I'm curious if he's going to try and make a play on this bottom lane anytime soon. Nocturne ultimate isn't up to support it, so you can't get that double global gank coming in. But he could still potentially look to support a Nocturne gank if it came in a more normal fashion. Because the thing is, Leona is predictably aggressive. She's very, very strong when she's aggressive. But if she's being aggressive, then you know when she's going to go in, and you can plan around that. You can try and bait that out. Right now, Master Sheepy is not in the area, though, so it looks like at the moment he's moving to support the Rise. To support the Trundle in the top lane, who's currently stealing away a blue buff. Finds a Morden. I'm not sure who is more surprised in this situation. He's doing a ton of damage once again. Will be backing out, but he's healing up fast, and Morden is already low, but Zodias gets caught off guard by Ocelot on the side, who is going to be chased down by Master Sheepy. Zodias, though, he gets caught by Morden, couldn't dodge the Q, and Ocelot could get away from Nocturne, who is now stuck in a very bad situation, will be taking even more damage, gets taken down there. Ocelot brings down the kill. Vizixachi only barely escapes with his life. That was really, really unfortunate. I'm also going to now focus on the bottom lane because we see the Soul Shackles coming in. The tower was just about to fall, but they didn't get it, so Gamers2 could be in trouble here. The culling comes down. Vardax exhausted and stunned, so unable to put down the damage. The tower does fall, and there is no kill on either side there. But close run stuff, with Gamers2 definitely coming out on top overall. Really nice stuff from them in that fight around the blue buff. They juggled their mobility so well and avoided getting anyone bursted out. So really, really nice stuff. And I think probably the key factor there as well was that Zodius did get caught out and take a ton of damage. And now we have the flash in the bottom lane. Yuki was really looking for the Vardag's kill, but couldn't quite get it. And I've got to say, serious props to Yuki this game, because he has dominated this bot lane. It's not been as obvious in terms of kills or anything, and you could argue that Unicorns of Love done very well to not die. But damn, he is getting a big CS lead in that bottom lane. Getting on for 50 CS between those two AD carries, which is... I know I said Lucian maybe has slightly better late game scaling, but yeah, that's not even close to enough to account for how strong Graves is by comparison right now. So, Gamers2 are setting up for the next dragon. They know they're strong right now. They know Ryze has teleport. And they know that they want Ryze to get a decent bit of farm. He's got his Rod of Ages now. Tier not quite halfway stacked up, so he's not super strong. But it looks like right now, Unicorns of Love are thinking about being the proactive ones. This is probably a good move. They can rotate Physics actually down here. And Zodias is trying to set up the gank. They got the Nocturne ultimate coming in on Ocelot. He spell shields the knock-up from Ocelot. Will they be able to chase this down, though? Nice kick. Knocks everyone out of there. The ultimate comes in from the side, and we have the teleport coming down from Ryze. Forced that out from Unicorns of Love. Now they're on the retreat. Will they be able to get away from this? Ocelot comes in. Glitterlance. They've started off the dragon, but the ultimate comes in from Ziggs. Ton of damage being put down there. The dragon will reset and continue to do so. And this does mean now Unicorns of Love have an advantage in this situation. They have good poke, obviously, coming in from Ziggs, which means that Gamers2 kind of need to engage, but at the same time, they're low on health. They really don't want to engage, and they've given the positions to Unicorn of Love. They've given the position to Unicorns of Love, who are going to be able to take this mid tower. There's no way Gamers2 can get there in time to stop that, and then they could potentially move back down to the dragon here, so they may choose to do that. The binding does whiff there. The other alternative is obviously recalling, but I'd say they could rush down the dragon, and if they've got a sweeper, then that will work in their favor. They currently, in fact, do have a sweeper. Hylasang is level 8, though, which actually is a big deal, because that means the thing's really small and doesn't cover that big of an area, which is awkward when you're trying to take dragon. Physicsatchi may be able to tank this life-stealing, but I don't think he can, and Gamers2 have got quite a few ultimates. I think Solar Flare comes up in a couple of seconds. This is a long, protracted game here. Yuki throws down the Q, and we see the poke, looking for the engage on both sides, but neither side actually finding it. We've got the ultimate coming back up again, and we've got the attempted blue take here. Morden doesn't get it, but Yuki, on the other hand, does. And now Gamers2 are the ones with the position. They're the ones going to be taking the tower off of this. We do see the Ziggs ultimate does a lot of damage to them, so if an engage happens now, they will be in a bad situation. I've said this before. I'll say it again, possibly. I don't know how long this fight is going to go on for. This is kind of mad. These 5-man dynamics have been going on for a long time, and they are on a knife edge, because if any one person gets bursted out, the rest can be so easily chased down. And if either side retreats in this situation, that is the big problem. If either side retreats, they will lose the dragon to the other side, and they do not want to do that. Zodias does get stunned. Solar Flare, this Cold War has become a little bit hotter, but the disengage comes in. This is like the Cuban Missile Crisis right here. We have got more bombs coming in. A close run thing again, but it does actually look like Gamers2 are not done yet because they get the dragon steal. He didn't smite that. That was literally just the first part of Morden's Q got the dragon steal there. That's huge. I don't really think Morden could have possibly predicted that, but maybe he did. Maybe he's just that damn good. Because that was really fortunate, because Gamers2 had just kind of lost that engage, essentially. They had just been forced off that dragon. They had just lost. But then suddenly Morden pulls it out of nowhere. And damned if he didn't just pull them back in. So, obviously the dragon wouldn't have been wouldn't have been game-endingly bad if they had lost it. They would have still been ahead, in fact, on gold. But that's not ideal. And Vardags now is in a hell of a lot of trouble because Yuki is chasing him down, popping his own heal for the movement speed. He's got the red buff, got the ultimate. Got the kill. So Yuki continuing to destroy in this bottom lane, and I've got to say that's a bad sign here, because now with him and with Leona in that area, that exerts so much pressure. And right now, Gamers2, utilizing that pressure, they can get so much farm onto Rise. They can get so much free time. You can see right now, what is he doing? He's shoving out this top lane, applying a little bit of map pressure here, but the main objective is to get that tier farmed up. Meanwhile, though, Vizixachi was forced to commit to the bottom lane, and he cannot kill that Leona there. Meanwhile, we do see the exhaust actually and the ultimate coming in. Yuki is public enemy #1 and will go down, donates the buffs. So, yes, it is very, very good to exert that much pressure, but obviously you have to temper that. You cannot be caught out in that manner. So, now Vizixachi teleports up to the top lane. He obviously didn't have to use that for the dragon fight, which was super, super good from him. But now he is potentially in a lot of trouble. Morden is there. No follow-up from Rise. He doesn't have his ultimate, though, so he's pretty squishy. And Morden whiffs the Q, so he doesn't actually get that. But they will get the tower. It's a pretty decent exchange. And meanwhile, Ocelot is moving down towards this bottom lane to try and defend that tower. He'll be able to clear that out. And we do see Vardag's kind of at a loss for what to do, it seems. That he's going to go clear out the white. It's a little bit odd, honestly, because they know where the majority of Gamers2 are at that point. They know Yuki would be respawning soon, but he could have potentially cleared that mid wave. As it is, doesn't matter. Going to be heading back, actually, to the mid lane right now, so he's okay. Yuki doesn't have the red buff right now, which means he's not nearly as big of a chase down threat. Meanwhile, though, in the top lane, we do see continued action, but no hard engage there. And Ocelot has managed to push out the bot lane at the same time. So, Unicorns of Love just one step behind at the moment. Then, you know, you see Vardags arriving here just as the wave starts to be thinned out already by the tower. We've seen JWoww getting some gold. And they were the ones that got the last kill. They were the ones that just ended up coming out on top. So, guys, at this point, it's kind of hard for me to call, but I've got to say I favor Gamers2. If you want to check in the Hitbox channel chat, though, there is actually a poll going on. You can vote for which team you think will win the series overall. Not this individual game, but the series overall. So, fans, time to show your appreciation for your glorious leaders. Your glorious... I don't know what you call the targets of an adoration. Your fan master, whatever it would be. But regardless, Ocelot maybe about to steal this white. He gets it. Nailed it. Done. Wrecked. Anyway, that's fine. Ocelot will continue to push down this bottom lane. That's bad, obviously, for Vardags, because he's desperately trying to farm himself back in. It's done a decent job. Morden will be jumping out in that top lane area. So, we have a brief period of relaxation now. And I've got to say, actually, as well, Gamers2 have done a pretty good job of getting some vision control, and they're usually the aggressors. Now, while you're taking down outer towers, that's not so much of a big difference between the two teams. Morden actually playing a dangerous game, once again, getting soul shackles on him. And Hylasang trying to chase this up, but he's pretty squishy right now. Duty wants him, but there's 4 members here, 5 members coming in from both teams. Damage coming down. Hylasang gets bursted out. This is the disengage attempt here, but Gamers2 are on the chase. Can they follow this up? No, they cannot. Ziggs is a little bit too strong at kiting. He's not quite done yet. And actually now they will get the root on Zodias. He couldn't knock himself out of there with his W, but he did get out of there. So Master Shibi, but now being chased himself. I was not expecting that. That was quite a good cue there from Morden. He's going to chase this. He may even chase it over the wall. Kicks Master Shibi, but the Summoner heal keeps him alive. And I couldn't have told you that was going to happen ahead of time, but I'm kind of glad it did in its own way. So Gamers2, though, are the victors of that fight. They get 1 kill and they push them back, which means now Unicorns of Love are going to have to defend this tower with down on health members. Does look like Trundle's a little bit too scary. And they have obviously taken some damage themselves, but Gamers2 get damage on the tower. They potentially could pick up Hylasang here, but it does look like they're just going to take the blue buff and leg it. So Unicorns of Love obviously there, falling behind just that little bit more, and it is these little bleeding differences which come from superior rotations. Yes, I know that has become a dirty word in casting sometimes, but certainly that is the overall plan there for Gamers2 so far in this game. And you see Master Sheepy face tanking Leona. Leona's damage when she's solo, not too much, I think, is generally the conclusion from that one there. Master Sheepy is actually in position for this dragon right now. I had not checked the timer on that. We do have Visixachi in the top lane, but he's got teleport available. I wonder if he's going to buy... Okay, I was wondering if he was going to buy Home Guard and be ready to teleport in like that. Because I'll tell you, there are few things more scary than a Home Guarded Trundle running towards you. Until he gets hit by like one skill shot and loses all that movement speed. But it's still very, very scary. Of course, being in the area in the first place is generally better than having to teleport. There's no induction time. There's no delay on that. And now he is actually defending this tower. Gamers2 trying to go for the sneaky rotation. And we see the Nocturne ultimate on JWoww. They've isolated him here. This is really, really good here. Nice play from Unicorns of Love. They pick up one. And that means Gamers2 are going to have to move out of the area. Unless they can get a pick themselves in the next, like, 10-15 seconds, they're going to have to concede that dragon. There's no way they can fight it now. Earlier in the game, it might be possible. Obviously, they could go for the steal. And it looks like they may be sticking around. I'm not sure I like this from Gamers2. This is quite risky. They're going to take a lot of poke even getting in range. And they can be chased down. But Visixachi goes in first. Drains Leona for the resistances. Takes a lot of damage. And Zodias there gets stunned up by Leona. We're actually seeing quite a good 4v5 fight coming out. Gamers2 do knock back that Nocturne there. Really, really nice stuff. They pick up Hylasang as well. And that is actually going to be me eating my own words as Visixachi narrowly escapes. Zodias looking for the escape here. He's waiting. Come on, timeout Lee Sin Q. But doesn't matter. Too much damage. He goes down. And it looks like the dragon will be as well. This time, I'm going to call it this time, the dragon will be going to the ones that just won the fight. And I've got to say, that was a really, really nice fight from Gamers2. They are just team fighting so well and moving. I mean, a lot of it is down to Morden. The way he is moving around the fight is just really, really fun to watch. And he is isolating a lot of people. It's just gorgeous there. So, we do see JWoww stealing away the red buff just because he can. And we see, in general, just sort of standard stuff pushing around the place. We see JWoww moving up to the top lane and the movement from Unicorns of Love being a little bit more restricted now. They also are suffering quite a bit in terms of vision control in their own jungle. They've been suffering for a while in terms of their fights and coming out on top. They have been doing a pretty good job of catching out JWoww though, who is right there. They are going to be chasing him down. Does flash out. Ultimate comes down. Dark Binding lands on him. He's going to try for the Hylasang kill, and he could have killed him if Hylasang hadn't said, actually, nope, let's not do this right now, and backed away. But they've done a pretty good job of keeping Rise down. He's still got his Seraph's Embrace, he's still got his Rod of Ages, and he's still farmed a decent bit. But all things considered, Unicorns of Love keeping JWoww pretty much pressed into the dirt comparative to where he could be right now, considering where his team is doing. So, Gamers2 actually going to be finding Visixachi, but it's Trundle. He's a bit Trundle for that, so they're going to be okay with that after all. And we do see continued farming, continued movements across the map, and Ocelot continuing to split push here, taking advantage of how quick Lulu's wave clear is, but he's definitely a bit scared of Visixachi, who is strong right now. Even though the rest of the team is not doing brilliantly, Visixachi is undeniably one of the strongest on this map. He may be the strongest in a one-on-one sense, but Hylasang has been caught out, kicked into a wall. Nocturne ultimate comes in for the counter gang. Ultimate coming down from Ziggs there, and we do see the slows coming down as well. Ocelot gets picked up. Zodias has actually been in position to pick it up when Hylasang gets that stun down, and the catches coming in from Unicorns of Love are putting them well ahead right now. Okay, I say well ahead, putting them in a really good position right now because they can go for the Baron. Last time they went for an objective, it went wrong, and last time I supported them fully. But this time, they're not actually going for it as much as baiting it out. Dude smells a rat, though, and he puts down the ward. We do see the teleport from Rise, and they've started off the buff. Now they've got the Dark Binding on Dude. Unclear calling here from Unicorns of Love. They don't know whether to disengage, and they don't know whether to go for the Baron. But for all this time that they've just wasted, the respawns are coming in from Gamers2, and they've already got the minions in their favor, and they're getting an opportunity to clear out the jungle here. So this is a big, big advantage here. So really, really not ideal play there from Unicorns of Love. May have been better. I can understand the temptation there. If Gamers2 had walked into that trap there, they could have taken the Baron, snowballed off of that, really brought themselves back onto even footing. And actually we see the teleport coming in from Visixachi, gets the pillar down on Yuki, but he's got a dash. He jumped right into Trundle though. Ultimate comes down, Blade of the Rune King comes down, flash out. We've got Wild Growth. Visixachi keeps chasing in. And the continued chase comes down, but they just cannot kill anyone. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, my voice is not used to solo casting, it seems, but right now, that was close run stuff there, and it did get the flash out of both Ocelot and Yuki, so close stuff. And Unicorns of Love, I've got to say, I was saying I didn't think outside of lane they would really contest, and I think it's showing in their rotations, but their team fighting is very, very good. Like, it's closer than I would have expected this game to be so far. And there's always that potential, especially when you've got such a strong late game. Obviously, they're going up against a very strong late game themselves, but Lee Sin is going to fall off. Lulu will be more of a support in the late game. The amount of sheer raw damage that is on Unicorns of Love lineup late game, it's phenomenal. We've nearly got the Feral Flare on Master Sheepy. He needs 2 more monsters to get that. And once he's got that, that's going to be super, super crazy. And now they're actually going for a dive. Ocelot gets bursted down like he wasn't even there, but he overcommitted for it. Vardax is going to have to flash out, getting chased down by Morden, throwing down the culling in return, gets the kill. Nocturne ultimate comes down, but he's way too far out. He will get bursted down now as well, and that is a 4-for-1 trade on the dive. Really not a good fight from Unicorns of Love. And that will be an inhib here. I really do not see Hyla Sang trying to do anything about that. Or, okay, they're going to go for the Baron instead. That's fair enough. If I were them, I mean, this is pure nitpickery here, but I would have gone for the inhib tower and then looked to go for the Baron, but they will be able to take that away. That is perfectly acceptable result for them. Although there is a slight concern here from Gamers2 in that they are going to be going up against Ziggs. And as we all know, Ziggs is actually kind of impossible to push against. I say impossible, I'm hyperbole, but it's really, really hard to push against the Ziggs. If he uses his ultimate, obviously, that's just no way you can push that tower without... Okay, no way you can get any minions to push that tower with. And there's no one super, super tanky to tank the towers. I mean, Duty is kind of there, but it's only when his W is up, so he's not going to want to do that all the time. And even when you've got no Ziggs ultimate available, you've still got to contend with the fact there's his Q and his E and his W, which are super, super difficult to deal with. And as well, Unicorns of Love, proactive ganking plays. They are good at these, but they will only get the ultimate and the tower, which is a pretty nice windfall there. But now they've overstayed, kind of, because Master Sheepy just took a very silly route to get out of here. They may get engaged upon here. They need to disengage from this. They do not want to fight the Baron buff. If they can pin someone down and burst them out, that could work. But those kinds of fights have not worked so far for them. Soul Shackles gets bursted down before they can even proc the second part. And meanwhile, on the other side, Zodias is in trouble. Flashes over the wall, tries to get away. Morden gets his Q dodge by Vardax, who is going to drop like a stone. But the counter ult there from Ziggs was good, and they did pick up a kill. Overall, though, not convinced about Master... Like, that was sheerly down to Master of Sheepy taking the route through Tribrush. He did not need to go that way, and it got them caught into a fight that wasn't really ideal for them. Obviously, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. That will get rid of the Baron buff, and there were no minions around to immediately start taking big objectives there, but they will get the Dragon, and they will also get Master of Sheepy. I have no idea what he was doing there. I wasn't watching. No lie there, ladies and gentlemen. I have not even the foggiest clue what he was doing there. Could have been in the bot lane trying to defend his tower against Yuki, but instead Yuki will be taking that away. Hyla Sang throwing a binding, sickly, skilled between the minions. Unfortunately, there was no one else to hit after going through between the minions. Visixachi, though, he is an opportunist, if nothing else. Going to be chasing down JWoww here. He's actually 2 levels lower, but he is so scary in a one-on-one. Going to be continuing to chase this out. JWoww, though, flashes out. And I gotta say, that was that's a scary Trundle. Trundle is I want to say he's one of the hardest scaling bruisers in the game. He's not going to beat a Jax in a one-on-one. But I'd honestly say his team fight is comparable or better. And he spikes quite a bit earlier than Jax. He only needs 1 damage item, so you've got to respect the Trundle pick if you know what you're doing. But see, the Rise pick works out normally against it because you can just poke him down from range and you can never really sustain through your damage, but apparently not today. Obviously there were a lot of ganks involved in making that work this time. So Gamers2 are going to be continuing to try again. But their Baron buff is mostly gone here, and they've only taken 1 tower off it. And the Dragon, which has further increased their gold lead now to slightly over 10k. So I'm not going to say this like it's a really bad situation for Gamers2 from that Baron, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was as good as it could have been there from Gamers2. They will not be able to push in for the inhib immediately, I suspect. Sieging is one of Graves' weaknesses. This is one of the reasons he wasn't seen previously. It's one of the reasons some AD carry players still really don't like him as an AD carry. But he's still pretty solid. The thing that Lucian does differently, though, than Graves, which makes him much better at sieging, is first he can build Triforce, so he's got more burst. And second, he's got that double shot passive, which still procs on towers, so he can play a much more in-again, out-again style than Graves, who has to kind of keep hitting a tower with his attack speed steroid to really get a tower taken down. But now we're playing this juggling game. Ziggs himself would be proud, and it's good that Ziggs is involved in the game for Unicorns of Love. But now Zodias in question, and very, very out of it now. Going to be bursted down. This is a bad fight as well for Unicorns of Love now because they're so tanky. Gamers2 chasing this down. This could be the game right here. JWoww, he is quite tanky and pretty much not taking any damage at all from Bardegs there. But they will be able to get this inhib at the least here because they are just able to take this out. Yuki brings out the Q, chases it up, but doesn't quite get the kill. But we see the surrender vote coming in. Unicorns of Love, 6 skills, Master of Sheepy, flashing out of his ultimate. But a closer game than I would have expected there. And, you know, there were some hope signs there. They were good at catching them out. Ocelot and JWoww in particular were the ones being caught out there by Unicorns of Love, which sometimes was pulling them into engages they didn't necessarily want.